everybody. Hey, I'm Rob Compagna, and I'm running a D&D campaign, a homebrew, as it is called. And so my characters have really been enjoying it. My friends have been playing it, and they've asked me to create a blog for this. So here we go with a blog, kind of detailing every session we have. We have a campaign. It started with we had a week 1 trial campaign called Save the Hostages, and everybody liked it, and so then we started the full-blown campaign called Just Revenge. And so let me give you some background here, including the characters. My homebrew campaign takes place in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting. It takes place in a city called Everland, which is just north of the High Forest in the northwest of Faerun. Just about the background of the characters. It's a pretty large party that we have. We have 8 characters, one of them being an NPC that I'm running. And so it's a big group, and the characters are Adri, played by my fiance Donna, who is a wood elf druid, and Grim, who is a mountain dwarf, played by my brother Joe. And I'm playing a dragonborn barbarian called a Rackstor. My friend Justin is playing a dragonborn barbarian called Nadar, or as he calls him, clanless Nadar. His wife Julianne is playing a cleric of Saluni, and her character's name is Kaylin. Julianne's daughter Joy is playing a elven sorcerer by the name of Thea. My friend David is playing a tiefling warlock by the name of Icaros. His wife Helen is playing a wood elf cleric of Deep Seychelles by the name of Yelenia. And as far as the background goes, there's some pretty big stuff going on here. Donna's character Adri is a druid, and she was a hermit for many years. When she was 25, she grew up in the High Forest, and when she was 25 years old, her sister Stefana left the family, and their family was a druid enclave, where their mother was the high druid, who was a very high-ranking druid, responsible for taking care of this special, really powerful artifact, which I don't want to give too much detail here, because party members might be watching this, and I don't even need to give them backstory. But it'll all become evident as time goes on. You watch more of these vlogs. So anyways, her sister, Adri's sister, left when Stefana left when she was 25. When Adri was about age 50, which for an elf is probably like around 10 or 12 years old in human years, her druid village was attacked by an evil elven wizard, and they were searching for something, and they totally destroyed the town and killed everyone. And Adri's mom gave her this box, and a small box in it that was warm to the touch, and told her to run into the forest and save herself and never let anyone get control of what's in this box. And so Adri ran into the forest, just as her family was being slaughtered and all her friends. And Adri lived in the high forest by herself, hiding from everybody for 100 years. And when towards the end of this period, a druid named I can't remember. So this druid name, I don't remember what the druid's name was. I'm forgetting it right now. Sorry. Encountered her and said, "I'm here to help you and to train you." But Adri was afraid and fled. And he came back like a month later. I'm here to train you and help you. But she was still really suspicious. And then he came back like a month later, but he was like he was a druid, so he was like in the form of like a hawk, and he landed and kind of surprised her and told her that she's gonna run, that they're coming, and she didn't know what that meant, but she kind of realized that maybe this guy was not a bad guy, and she ran away, and he died just as he was saying. Run away. But he also said to her that he knew that what she was carrying and that she needed to protect it at all costs. So she grabbed a few of his things, like his scimitar and whatever stuff that he had, and she ran away. And she went to where she knew that her sister was living, which was Everland, the city that's north of the high forest. So that's Adri's background. My character Araxtor, it's a little easier. He was living in the desert area in the north central section of Faerun, in a tribe of Dragonborn, and the tribe was wiped out by marauding hill giants, and it killed his wife and children. And so he wandered around for a few years from place to place, being like a bodyguard or a bouncer in a club, those kind of things. And he saw strife and families being hurt too and broken up and bad things happening, and he finally decided to break free of that and try to help people in the world. And so he moved gradually farther west until one day, wandering in the Nether Mountains, he was hungry, and he happened to come into what looked like a dwarven ruin entrance. And in the dwarven ruin entrance, he was confronted by this half-crazed dwarf, who we found out his name was Grim. And Grim was who is played as the character played by my brother Joe, was the last remaining dwarf of a dwarven contingent that was trying to repopulate the Nether Mountains from Mithril Hall. Mithril Hall had in recent years been reclaimed, which was the ancestral home of the dwarves, had recently been reclaimed from all this sorts of bad stuff. I think it was like a big dragon and stuff like that. But anyway, so the dwarves are trying to expand their territory, and I guess the first year that Grimm's character was and his team of dwarves were reclaiming and digging out this underground dwarven outpost. Half of them were wiped out by disease, and then after that they were attacked by a bunch of orcs, and he was the only one left. And so Araxtor, through talking to Grimm, convinced him to come out and come with him to Everland, where Araxtor was going. So that's their backstory. Regarding clanless Nadar, in his backstory, an evil elven wizard, archmage, came to where his tribe lived, was wiped out he didn't know what the, or at least I don't know what the wizard was looking for. But the sky rained purple fire. Everyone in his tribe of 120 Dragonborn were wiped out, and he ended up catching a bad disease through this mystic stuff that made him very weak. And so he wandered away from where he was from, and ended up going to Everland. Okay, then Icaros, the tiefling. Icaros, he has a backstory, a troubled background. His family was very cruel and mean to him. Of course, tieflings are kind of like, come from evil folks. And tieflings, if you don't know, are essentially kind of like humanoid demons, kind of human demons, kind of sort of like half human, half demons. They have curly horns. They have a long pointed tail with a spiky ending. I don't know, like a typical devil or demon tail, and they have like black skin and sharp teeth and red eyes, so they're really freaky looking. And anyways, Icaros is about 65 years old. He's wandered Faerun, the continent of Faerun, for years, gradually moving farther west to kind of escape his family. Things happen to him along the way that I can't tell right now because there's plot spoilers to it. But he ends up working for various government agencies and just moves from town to town. He's kind of a wheeler-dealer kind of guy. He's very, very quick with his tongue and is very good at making friends and deals and stuff like that. And so he finds himself eventually in Everland, where he lives for the past, he's been living for the past year or two, getting himself assimilated in the community, making a living, doing various things that, loosely with the government, I believe. I'm trying to remember that. He's played by David. There is Yelenia, who happens to be, Yelenia is Helen's character, who is a wood elf cleric of Deep Seychelles, and Deep Seychelles is the elven god of the seas, and she lives in a village called Bright Shore, and where there's a temple there. Now, in the past, Adri's sister Stephana had left, as you know, had left the High Forest, and she moved to Bright Shore and lived there for a while and became really close friends with Yelenia. And after a while, Stephana left Bright Shore and moved to Everland, where she became the high priestess of Hanali Selenel. Hanali Selenel is the elven goddess of beauty, and she became the high priestess of Hanali Selenel in Everland. So Yelenia lived there lived in Bright Shore for a long time, when she received, within the past month, a letter from Stephana telling her to come as quickly as possible to Everland, because the city could be taken over by the Arcane Brotherhood and the Zentrum. And what are the Arcane Brotherhood? The Arcane Brotherhood is a evil organization of very, very powerful evil wizards that live in a city called Luskan, on the shores of east of the Sword Coast in Faerun. Anyway, and the Zentrum are an evil organization that is in the east of east of Everland, and they want to take over what's called the Sword Marches, which is a confederation of city-states, good city-states, and Everland is one of the chief ones, the other being Silvery Moon in the northwest of Faerun. And so anyway, so Yelenia has gone to Everland to see if she can help stop the problem and help meet up with her friend. Thea is the daughter of Joy, a daughter of Julianne, and player characters. But anyways, Thea is a elven sorcerer who left the High Forest because she was sent there. She was sent to Everland by her parents because she was getting bizarre magical powers that she could not control, and so they sent her to Everland to try to join a wizarding school there. So she joined the wizarding school for a while, and she didn't fit in. She's not really a wizard. Wizards use learn spells and stuff like that, and she just had innate, uncontrollable magical abilities. And so after a while, they asked her to leave the school. And the headmaster, Varial Ruiden, said that he would follow up with her, but after all, he didn't, and she became a street urchin in Everland and has moved from place to place. And one of the places she stays at is a tavern called the Old Sword Sheathed, which is owned by a half-elf named Xander, who happens to be the husband of Stefana, who is, as you remember, the sister of Adri and best friend of Yelenia. And so that brings us up to our next character, Kaylin. Kaylin is played by Julianne, and Kaylin is... and I'll just read this. Kaylin grew up in the northeastern part of the High Forest when she reached adulthood, she decided it was time to move out into the world. As a child, she greatly respected and admired the local priestess of Suluni and decided that she wanted to move to Everland, where there was a temple there, to become a priestess. After finding the temple, she rapidly immersed herself in the activities of the temple and became a priestess herself, and loved it for several years. However, she has become increasingly worried with what is going on, with reports of an orc horde amassing and her friend Stefana being taken into custody by the town elders. She feels that she needs to take action, but isn't sure what she should do. Alright, so that's all the characters. So what's happening in the background? Yeah, so let's talk about Everland. So there's a lot of things going on here. Everland, there received reports of a huge orc horde amassing in the east of Everland. That's planning to attack Everland and the rest of the cities in the Silver Marches. They are not only is it a giant orc horde, but it's got gnolls, hill giants, trolls, goblins, hobgoblins, you name it. It's one of the biggest hordes ever assembled. So to combat this, the Army of the Vale, which is the army that is in Everland, that's Everland's army, has been sent out, and they are joining with the other city-states' armies to combat this horde. Now this is leaving Everland kind of vulnerable right now, but they need to combat this evil that's going on. And so right after this, the town elders who run the city of Everland have hired extra soldiers to help them out, and some people appear to have been rounded up to visit the town elders. Okay, so that brings us up to the current. In our first adventure called Save the Hobgoblin.